Hey friends! Earlier this month, I did a grocery haul collaboration with my friend Andrea Shenanigans. I'll post the link to that right here in the corner and in the description box in case you missed it and want to check it out. But in that video, I showed you guys what I typically eat in a week as far as my dairy-free keto lifestyle. And included in that haul was the ingredients for my weekly bone broth. I asked if you guys wanted to see in depth how I make my bone broth every week, and the answer was a resounding yes. So, since I'm making it today, I thought I would show you guys just how I do it. It's honestly the easiest thing. If it wasn't super simple, I wouldn't do it. Certainly not on as regular a basis as I do it. But I love making this every week because it is very fast as far as hands-on time. And the fact that I'm doing it in the Instapot means it's much faster just overall than it used to be when I would use my slow cooker. Bone broth is broth made from bones of animals, and you usually use chicken bones, you use beef bones, some people even use fish bones. I like doing chicken though because I feel like it's the tastiest to eat in my opinion on its own, which is usually how I consume this. And if you wanted to kind of keep the seasonings to a minimum, you could also use this to cook other things with. If you're not necessarily low carb, you can make rice with this, you can mix it into mashed potatoes, and it's a good way to get some amino acids and to get proteins and collagen, all of which are good for your system in a natural and easy way. Not to mention it's really tasty. So everything that I'm going to use today is frozen. You don't have to use frozen, and in fact, sometimes I don't, because what I do is that I buy carrots, celery, a bunch of parsley, and a bunch of cilantro. Those are like my go-tos for this, but you could add onion, you could add garlic, you could add leek, pretty much anything that you would want to use to add flavor to the broth. Those are my basics though. Those are the ones that I always include no matter what. And so when I first buy them that week, I'll use them fresh, and then I put away whatever I don't use, I freeze it, and that's what I end up using for my next batch. And I'll add to this as the week goes on too. Like if I have a recipe where I only needed half an onion, the other half of the onion will end up in this bag so that weekend I can use it for my broth. So it's also a great way to use up veggie scraps and stuff that would otherwise have ended up in the garbage. This way at least they're serving some sort of nutritional purpose and you're not wasting your money. As you saw in that grocery haul video, I also buy at least 2 whole chickens every week. I roast them at some point during the week. I eat the meat as we go along, either on its own or mixed into chicken salad, or on top of an actual green salad, or however many ways one can eat chicken, right? And when the chicken meat is all gone, I bag up the bones. And as you can see, I also include whatever juices the chicken cooked in, the fat, everything. Everything ends up in the bag because everything's gonna end up in the broth. And I am gonna end up straining this at the end, but this is still gonna add a lot of flavor to the finished product. So I've got 2 chicken carcasses here with all of their flavorful fixins. And the bag of veggies that you already saw, and like I said, this one's very simple. This one's just carrot, celery, parsley, and cilantro. I also like to add salt, pepper, oregano, sometimes thyme, sometimes rosemary, depending on how I'm feeling. You could omit all of those seasonings if you want to and keep it super basic. It won't be as tasty if you're trying to drink it on its own like I do, but it's gonna make a great base for cooking because then you can just add your salt with whatever recipe it is that you're making with it. Now I have this already set to saute because that way it helps bring it up to temperature faster while I've been talking to you guys. But you're about to see how super ridiculously simple this is. The first thing I'm gonna do is add my chicken bones. So I'm just gonna go plop. And that's already starting to kind of melt down the fat. Here comes the second one. Try to get them in there as flat as I can because now I'm going to throw the veggies on top. And this doesn't have to be pretty. As long as it fits, it's going to be fine and everything's going to do what it's got to do. So now I'm going to take this over to our sink because I have a reverse osmosis filter there, and I'm going to use filtered water basically up to the fill line because this is pretty full, but you only really need enough to cover up the bones and veggies. Alright, so we've got our pot here with all of our water in it. I went ahead and got a fresh onion and I cut it in half. The other half is going to end up in the freezer with my other bag of frozen veggies that I've got ready for next weekend. I'm just going to throw it in there skin and all because like I said, we're going to strain this anyways, so that's fine. I don't have to chop it, I don't have to do anything. I'm just throwing it in. Now I'm going to choose to season mine, and I'm going to do some sea salt, nice healthy amount. It's a lot of broth we're making, so I'm not worried about that being too much. I'm also going to use some oregano because Abuela always put oregano in her soup, so that's what tastes good to me. Some fresh pepper, some of my favorite lemon pepper seasoning, and a few bay leaves. So as you can see, this recipe is like there's zero measurements. It's just everything to your liking. And as you make it and make it more often, you're gonna start to see like where you want to tweak it. Maybe next time you'll add a little more salt. Maybe next time you'll add another seasoning that you didn't think of the first time around, but could have really made this sing. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very individual thing. This is how I like to make mine. And it really is that simple. I'm gonna put the lid on my Instapot now. I'm gonna set it to pressure cook for 1 hour. And you don't actually need the whole hour. In fact, the recipe, when I originally found it, who knows where and who knows when, it actually said to just do it for 45 minutes. But I find that the whole hour really just finishes extracting all that flavor that I want out of the bones. When it's done pressure cooking, I just let it do natural release until it's done. Sometimes that takes another half hour, sometimes it takes another hour. Either way, I feel like, again, I'm allowing it to finish cooking. I'm allowing it to finish drawing all the flavor out of all those vegetables and all of that chicken. And in the end, I feel like I end up with the most flavorful broth that way. Alright, so I'm just gonna let it do its thing, and I'll see you guys back here in a couple of hours.
2 hours later.
Alright, so it's been a couple hours and our Instapot is open, as you can see. So there is our broth with our veggies all cooked down and our chicken carcasses doing their thing there at the bottom. So now I'm going to take the metal portion out of the Instapot and I'm going to just dump it into a regular soup pot with a strainer inside. Just a regular strainer. You don't need anything fancy. If you have a very large metal like sieve that can go over your pot, that would make life a little easier. I don't have that, so I'm working with what I've got. But it's just that easy to get all of the solids out of your broth, and then you're just left with liquid, because that's how straining works. So now you've seen it, guys. That's how I make my bone broth. Now I'll wait for it to cool down. I put it into individual glass Tupperwares, and then once it's totally completely cool, I'll stack them all up in the fridge, and that will give me easily a week's worth of broth. And like I said, you're free to cook with it, do with it whatever you want. My favorite way to prepare it is I take about a tablespoon of this duck fat. I know that might sound a little weird, but remember that I am on a dairy-free keto lifestyle, and so I tend to eat things that are higher in fat. This is delicious. It almost tastes like chicken, but like a little bit meatier, if that makes sense. So I'll take a tablespoon of this and I'll mix it into the hot broth with my little like coffee mixer upper thing to like froth it in and make sure that it gets incorporated. And I'll usually juice a whole lime in there as well, and I'll just sip it the way that you might sip coffee or hot chocolate or something. It's a fantastic and filling snack. If you're wanting something lighter, it also makes a great lunch, and it's just a great way to boost your fat throughout the day too. So if you guys try this, please let me know how you like it. I'd also love to hear everybody else's variations, because it's always so interesting to me how different people take different things and make them their own. And this is something that's so easy to individualize, so I'm dying to hear what you all decide to do with it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope you'll please give it a big thumbs up. I'd also love it if you would subscribe and click that notification bell, because I post at least 3 times a week and I wouldn't want you to miss a minute. Thanks so much again for watching. Bye!